How does your product use or challenge conventions? And how does it represent social groups or issues?
Um, our film opening represents many different social groups. From my perspective, some stand out more than others. For instance, the main issue focuses on the inability to cope with morality. The film is about a girl, Alex, who passes away and refuses to move on. Instead, she chooses to repeat the same day over and over in order to find a way to save herself from death. This is basically meant to symbolize people who lose a loved one and are unable to move forward from that loss. Similarly, it is of course completely normal to mourn losing someone you love. However, when it is prolonged, the result of that mourning can become destructive. In the film, this topic is demonstrated when the day repeats over and over, and Alex drives herself mad attempting to stop her fate. Furthermore, throughout the opening, Alex looks to be alone, and although other voices can be heard, no character but Alex is seen. This showcases that when people are suffering a loss, it is sometimes done in silence. Nobody is there to help the person process their emotions, nor does the mourner have the strength to tell anybody else what they're going through. In other words, they are completely alone. As for conventions that it follows, there's mise en scene. For the most part, the mise en scene in our film went against it both went against and followed the usual conventions. Foremost, the lighting, most often used in horror, is a high key and hard lighting, so it gives a very dramatic and serious effect. There also are usually shot at night or in the dark. While our film does have scenes during nighttime and has high key lights, the lighting around Alex is softer, giving a calm or mundane feeling. The divergence in tone between visuals creates a more confused or uneasy emotion. Additionally, the acting also opposes general conventions. Most of the time in horror films, it is the victim is extremely scared or confused. In our opening, Navia, our actor, toned down the reactions, which would later on hint to the fact that it is not the first time the character had been through this situation. Then there is also the camera work in our film. Our film opening follows many of the common camera movements of a horror genre film. This would be shots or movements that would help build suspense or tension. For example, both of our films and a typical horror movie share an abundance of close-up shots. The close-up shot type gives audiences the ability to view micro-expressions on the characters' faces, which lets the audience know exactly what the characters are feeling. Letting a character's emotions be showcased closely in a horror causes the same emotion to be reflected onto the viewers, adding to the fear of the moment. On the contrary, most horror films have a fast and disorienting camera movement to produce panic. Our film opening does the complete opposite by choosing to slow down movements for a calmer and relaxing feeling. We believe that the slow and steady camera work would contrast nicely with the abnormal situation happening around Alex. The dissimilarity would set the audience on edge, amplifying how wrong the world is and adding anticipation. Then there is also film sound. As for our film, we decided to stick to the original conventions of a psychological horror. The usual score in a horror would be eerie, loud, and meant to frighten the audience. It could also tend to drag on for some time in order to add suspense. We followed this by adding a dissonant audio we found online. The original score was only about 3 seconds long, so we also extended it by slowing it down. In the end, it created a slow, deep, ghostly sound that underscores the abnormal happenings around the world. In film editing, generally, when it comes to the speed of which action or transition happens in horror, it's very fast in order to keep the audience on their toes. Our film opening rebels this convention by choosing to slow down the clips with most of the action in them. This decision was made because the action is of Alex getting hit by a car, and the moment needed to be more significant. By using slow motion, we were able to capture and linger on Alex's reaction to the car. It also gave the audience a moment to process what's going on and leaves them with the anticipation of whether or not she'll survive. Additionally, the beginning of the opening is also very slow with the calm and peaceful transitions. This was done to create a false sense of safety and make it feel as though nothing is wrong in the world. That's my answer.